Well folks, the moment has finally arrived and I couldn't be more excited to share it with you. There's one question I've been asked every single day for the last 3 years, and that question is, when is the Dirty 30 finally going to hit the tracks? Now, after years in the making, the 30 is out of the shed and ready to hit the dirt. Welcome to the final episode of the Dirty 30 build.
G'day guys, and welcome to another build-up episode on the Dirty 30. Now, I'm very excited about this episode because it does mark the final episode of the build of this old girl right here. Now, over the last 3.5, 4 years, you guys would have seen it if you've seen all the episodes on YouTube, where we started with a bare chassis. We basically built something very, very special to me and an absolute incredible vehicle built for some of the toughest four-wheel drive tracks in Australia and also touring as well. Now, a lot of work has been done on this vehicle and I'm very excited to share with you the most recent work that's happened. But as you can probably tell, if you've got a very keen eye on you, there's a stack of bugs all over the front. It's not looking exactly clean, and that's because I've probably clocked up about 3,500 Ks in the last week and a half in this vehicle. It's been to Outback Queensland. It's recently been to Fraser Island, and the good news for you guys sitting at home is next week on our YouTube channel, you get to see the very first trip where I take the Dirty 30 out of my shed for the first time and take it on the tracks in the sort of terrain where this thing belongs. But first, let me show you around the vehicle and show you exactly how the 30 has become track ready. Now, first things first, you're gonna notice that I've actually installed a winch into the Dirty 30. Now, I've chosen a Runva winch and I installed this at home in the shed with a few beers, listened to a bit of Cold Chisel, and I really took my time to make sure the install was done properly. At first, I was just gonna install it like any other winch, but then I thought, no, look, I've come so far with this build, let's make it a little bit special. So what I've done is installed the winch. I've also used the old Dirty 30 fair lead. I've mounted the control box up in the wing of the bull bar. So I wanted that out of the way. It's not visible, it's hidden away, all the wiring's hidden, and it's actually quite bush-proof. But the really cool thing about this install, I've actually extended the wires from the back of the plug on the control box to in the cab. That means I can control the winch from inside the cab just via a little switch. That is really cool and something I've always wanted to do in all my four-wheel drives, but I've just never got around to doing it. So I made the effort, did it properly, and now I can just winch whenever I want. I don't have to try and find a cable or anything like that. It's just so easy. Now, if I open the bonnet, I'll show you what we've done in here. Now, not a lot has changed, but we've refined a few things, and it's worth a look. Now, inside the engine bay, there's a lot of little things that if you've got a keen eye, you'll notice. First things first is I've got an actual isolator for the switch. Now this comes with a Runva winch, which I think is really cool. So it's just a little toggle switch. I've used a little bit of 400-pound mono, a couple of crimps, what we use for marlin fishing, just to hold it in there so I don't lose it. But I can actually isolate that winch and turn it off, which is a good little safety feature that you probably should do whenever you install a winch into a vehicle. Now, the other thing you'll notice as well, that I've got a fan shroud now. On the last YouTube video, a lot of you guys in the comments wrote down, Shaun, you've forgotten your fan shroud. Hadn't forgotten, just hadn't got around to it yet. So Richard from Mr. LandCruiser has made a custom one for me, and like everything they do down there, he's gone to the next level and it looks like an absolute work of art, fully customized to suit my vehicle. And it just really, you know, obviously it helps with the cooling properties, but it actually looks really cool as well, which is kind of cool. The other thing you'll notice inside the engine, you can't actually see it, but the engine has been tuned. So it's making a lot more power right now, which is just an absolute pleasure to drive. So this is the FTE motor, as you will recall, and we went to Ultimate Diesel Tuning for those guys to do a full tune on it.
After doing the engine conversion and fitting a slightly larger turbo, the 30 was still running some very, very low numbers. So getting the vehicle to the boys at the tuning shop was an absolute must. Let's take a look how it panned out.
Righto guys, I'm down here at Ultimate Diesel Tuning and I'm very excited because the Dirty 30's been with these guys for the last 3 days. I've been pestering Rob just about every single day to let me know what the 30's now making on the dyno. He won't tell me a word, so I've got no idea what it makes. He just said, come in, take it for a drive, and then we'll look at the numbers. And I think that's the best way because I know what the Dirty 30 was like. It was, you know, it was drivable beforehand, a bit of a slug, but I know these guys would have worked their magic. I know they're very excited about it, and I just can't wait to take it for a spin. So come with me.
Hey, Shaun.
Hey, mate, how are you?
Yeah, really good.
All right.
Oh, good.
How exciting.
How's the feelings, mate?
Yes, I can't wait. I can't wait to take it for a drive. It's like anything, when you get something done in your car, you just want to feel what it's like, and there's no better feeling than to get a vehicle tuned for a little bit more power.
Oh.
Especially if you can
Especially
notice
no
that
one's
power.
telling you what it made.
I know, I've got no idea. Oh, you still won't tell me?
No.
Last chance, last chance.
Nah.
Righto.
Better than when it came in.
That's the main thing. Yeah. That's nice, isn't it?
Yeah, just takes off nice, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's just got that real smooth.
You didn't put your foot down.
No. I just, yeah.
See that?
Yeah, it's that mid acceleration is huge, isn't it? What a beast.
What do you reckon?
Yeah, she goes good. She goes good. So nice to drive. The combination with the auto and having a bit of power on tap.
So mate, as you know,
Yep.
at about 150 newton meters we started.
100.
What? Standard.
100.
150 newton meters standard.
Right.
Now it's got over 600.
Over 600.
Yeah.
Holy heck, that's why it pulls you back in your seat. Look at that.
Yeah, right there.
It's just so nice to drive.
It is, isn't it?
That's a huge increase. How good is that? Righto, so I've just taken it for a bit of a drive around the block, and you know, when you're sitting behind the wheel and actually test the before and after on this vehicle, it's a completely different vehicle to drive. I'm absolutely blown away by being in the driver's seat. Unfortunately, you guys can't experience the same feeling. So I've got it up on the screen here. These are the dyno numbers, Rob, and look, you can see for yourself, it's no wonder why I could feel a complete transformation for the vehicle, because when I first brought it in here, it was doing 47 kilowatts at the tyres. Now, that's very light on, even for a standard FTE, it doesn't make that lower power, but you've got to keep in mind that we literally just bolted this FTE motor in. There was a problem with the actuator on the turbo.
Yeah, we didn't get boost pressure on the actuator, so we've connected all that up.
Yeah,
Shaun,
so look,
it's a bit conservative up there. There'll be people sitting there going, that's pretty low, Shaun.
And it definitely was. It was a bit of a slug to drive. Now, that's the most important bit, 141 kilowatts at the tyres. That's incredible. But this is the big number, 618 newton meters of torque. So that is phenomenal. That's very, very drivable. That vehicle, as soon as you put your foot down, you're in the back of the seat, and that's that torque feeling you get, I suppose. It's, mate, you've completely transformed that car to drive. And the best thing about it is, it runs just over 20 PSI worth of boost. So it's not much boost, there's not a lot of fuel in it. It's very, very conservative tune, and it still makes power like that.
In addition to the tune and turbo, we also installed a Unichip, a Q4, and I couldn't be happier with the combined power results. At just over 600 newton meters, at about 1800 RPM low in the rev range, is a huge improvement over stock.
When you go to drive it, it's an absolute beast. It pulls so hard that it's probably one of my most powerful vehicles, at least by driving feel, it's probably the most powerful. Like the 79, the big V8, that's got a few more horsepower than this one, but to drive, this thing would probably eat it up. I think that's largely due to the auto. Now I've got the 5-speed Tiptronic auto in this one. The other thing that's happened since the last video is we've actually rebuilt the auto. The guys at Coastland to Hinterland Autos in the Gold Coast rebuilt the auto so it's completely brand new. As you know, we've got a bunch of wholesale gear on it to make the auto absolutely bulletproof. We actually sent the whole vehicle down to Victoria on a truck to get the auto tuned. Now, I thought that was quite excessive, but Rocket was absolutely adamant that he saw the vehicle to tune this thing properly. And boy, what a difference it's made. Jono, Stu, and the boys down at Wholesale have done an absolute number on this auto, and it drives so well now. It changes gears perfectly. Now, the other thing that I really want to show you on the Dirty 30 is the 12-volt system. Last time, we had the BMW half canopy on the back here, and it was completely empty inside. Now, I'm pretty happy to say that I've dropped it down to my mate Caleb down at Pro Touring Concepts, and he's worked his magic. And it's one of those 12-volt systems you need to pretty much see to believe. So come and have a look at this while I show you through it. Now, this one here is just state-of-the-art red arc gear. I've got the Red Vision in here. It was also the Manager 30. Now, Caleb's run all this in a really neat fashion on a panel on the side of the canopy here, but it's really functional. And while it looks a little bit complex, it's really easy to use. And the cool thing is everything integrates into the Red Vision system. So it's got a distribution board. You don't need to run fuses or relays or anything like that. It doesn't matter how many 12-volt applications you've got. This will cover it all. It's also got the Red Vision screen, which is a full interface, so you don't need switches. So everything can be managed right through here. So if I want to turn these lights off, bang, it's easy to get to. my lights for the other side. I can see exactly what my batteries are doing. I've run a lithium battery in this setup. There's plenty of power at my fingertips, and the good news is I can monitor and know exactly what's happening. I've also got a red vision screen inside the cab as well, so when I'm driving and I decide to pull up or whatever, I can turn back behind me and have a look at the screen. Also turn things on, make sure the fridge is going. I can see exactly what my 12 volt system's doing. Now, you don't need to be a 12 volt guru, but if you know exactly what your 12 volt system's doing, it gives you peace of mind and confidence when you're out in the bush that it's working exactly how you've got it planned. Now, you'll also see that I've got a little red Anderson plug here. That is for solar, for if I want to run a solar blanket. I've also got the cabling already installed to run another solar panel up on top of the rooftop tent, which I think is really cool. I want to have solar in this vehicle. I want to make this vehicle completely self-sufficient, so I can go out into the bush for however long I want, and as soon as I run out of beer, I can come back, and that's the only thing I need to worry about because my 12 volt system is just absolutely A grade. Now, the other thing you'll see here, I do run a drifter drawer. Now, the drifter drawer, these guys customized the drawer to set this whole setup. I've got an IGT table which just pulls straight out of here. I've got a couple of legs on the other side. I can run this table external to the drawer or just use it as a bit of a bench if I need to. I think that's really handy. Inside the drawer, I basically run a bunch of drifter clear top bags. So all my groceries, that's my spice bag. Everything's in there, my groceries, all my cooking gear is in there, easy to get to. So as you can see, I've really catered this vehicle for touring. It's also goes really well off-road, there's no doubt about it, but I wanted to make sure that I had a nice lightweight touring setup. And speaking of touring, let me show you the other side. Now, on this side of the vehicle, I've got some really cool touring mods. I've got a 2.5 by 2.5 meter awning on the vehicle, and I reckon an awning is essential for just about every single build out there because to get out of the elements is just absolutely necessary, I reckon, when you do a lot of camping. This is one by Drifter Stockton, one of the better awnings I've ever used. It's really good quality, and of course, it doesn't take very long to set up. I've got a hard top rooftop tent. Now, you'll probably remember that in an episode of Coffs Harbour recently, Kaito had one of these. It's a Wildland one from Drifter as well. It's a really slimline one. That's what I liked about this one. I wanted a hard shell rooftop tent, but I've always thought they were way too heavy and they were too big on top of the roof. I wasn't really after that. I wanted to try and keep the center of gravity as low as I could on this vehicle, and I still wanted the luxury of a rooftop tent. Now, this one here takes about 30 seconds to set up. And to be honest with you, in the last 3 weeks, I've practically been living inside that rooftop tent because it's so easy to set up. I'll even leave for trips earlier now and pull into like rest stops or camping areas, just 2 clips, bang, it's all set up and I'm ready to go. So that combination just provides a really cool touring setup. And one other essential touring mod lives in here. Check this out. In the Clearview Easy Slide, I've got a Mike Coolman 44 litre fridge. Now, this is one of their latest fridges and it's an absolute game changer. It's nice and compact, fits in here really well, but there's a stack of space inside. And I've also got one of the Mike Coolman lithium battery packs that attaches to the side. I've got the little cord in here, but to be honest, with my 12 volt setup, I'll never need to use this. But if I ever want to take the fridge out for some reason, maybe sit it down beside a nice water hole, have a couple of beers around the fire, who knows, and actually take the fridge out of the vehicle, I can run it off the lithium pack for probably a good 15 to 20 hours. So that's, I reckon, a really cool little setup. And around my fridge, I've tried to use as much space as possible. So this is a little drifter bag that I keep the ladder for the rooftop tent. Over here, I've got my legs for the IGT table and a few little accessories. And I've also got another little drifter bag here that holds all my guide ropes and a little hammer and stuff for my awning. So the cool news is I'm just so organized with this setup. I think after about 10 years, I reckon I've finally nailed it. I've got a setup that is really easy to set up and also everything is in the right spot. So it makes camping an absolute breeze and it actually makes you a little bit more motivated to get out in the bush, which I reckon is a plus when you're camping. Everything is where you want it. Get out there and enjoy it. Now, speaking about getting this beast dialed in, I've made no exceptions with the suspension, actually taken it across to Fulcrum to get the experts over there to really dial the suspension in, get it suited for this vehicle. So we've run a 2-inch Fulcrum suspension kit. I've got the Fulcrum big bore shocks. Now, the reason you want to run big bore shocks in just about every four-wheel drive is the bigger the bore, the more oil that's in the shock. So the more oil in there, the more dampening and also the cooling properties of the shock. So when you're doing a lot of corrugations like I plan to do with this vehicle here, you want the best cooling properties in those shocks. So you keep them nice and cool, you don't do damage to the shocks, and you have a nice ride. So at the end of the day, these guys have worked out the spring rates and the shock rates for this vehicle, got it completely dialed in. So the end result is the vehicle works really well off-road and on-road, which I reckon is the perfect compromise. Well, there you go, that wraps up our final build episode on the Dirty 30. It's not completely done. There's a lot of little things I want to fine tune now and just maybe add to it, but for the most of it, it's track ready, and that means I get to drive it, and it also means you get to see it on the best four-wheel driving channel on YouTube, Four Wheel Drive 24/7. So now's the part. I just want to say a massive thank you to the four-wheel drive industry. Now, without so many legends in this industry, the Aussie aftermarket four-wheel drive industry create some of the best products in the world for four-wheel drives. There's no doubt about it, and this vehicle is just a shining result of what can happen when you turn a dream into a reality. There's so many cool little features on this vehicle, and there's so many really cool companies that got involved to turn this thing into an absolute weapon. I also want to say a big thank you to you guys, because you guys through the whole build kept me motivated to make sure this thing actually got off the ground. Yeah, it's been a long journey, 3.5, maybe 4 years, I haven't been counting, but you guys have been helping me get the inspiration to make this thing what it is today. So I want to say a big thank you. It's your comments in the comment section that really, I'll go through them all, and you've given me so much inspiration to make this thing, you know, just even ideas that you probably don't even realize, but this vehicle is a result from your comments. So a big, big thank you. And like I said, this is on YouTube next week on Fraser Islands. Whatever you do, make sure you book out the full week, get yourself prepared, because this episode is going to be absolutely off the hook. Until next time, I'll see you on Four Wheel Drive 24/7.
Next week on Four Wheel Drive 24/7.
How good is this? Just cruising north on Fraser Island, my favourite place in Australia.
Oh, I needed all 4 horsepower to get through that.
Yes! As soon as you go around this corner, you're in a completely different world. This looks like a good little campsite, boys. Follow me into paradise. That's so cool.